welcome to the video. We are Reclaim the Night Perth, and this is our 2023 chat for the live event of the October 27th. My name's Ava. I've been with Reclaim the Night on and off for about 4 years.
Oh, is it me now? Yeah, we're good at this.
Yeah, so
off to a great start. I'm Sarah, and I've been involved in the collective for like 2 years now or something. Liz would know. Liz?
I think you've been involved for maybe 3 years. I think this is your 3rd year.
Oh, wow, I have done very little.
Hush. I'm Liz, and I've been involved for 9 years. You cannot get rid of me.
We've tried. Can you guys hear my cats yowling in the background?
No.
Oh, okay. Good. Yeah, cool. Right
now, do we want to start again, because that is going to need a lot of editing?
No, it's not. I think
it's
that's
not
fine.
Okay,
I think the
that's
joke
fine.
is fine.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Yeah.
So we're going to talk today about a little bit about why we're not hosting an in-person event, which is what normally happens. Annually, we have a rally and march on October 27th, but for the past couple of years, issues like COVID and things like that have impacted that. And even though the lockdowns and things like that aren't happening anymore, we're still having issues with holding in-person events. So we're just going to have a bit of a chat about that. And then we'll go on to chatting about what we're up to now, a bit of behind the scenes of what Reclaim the Night Perth 2023 is doing. So I'll just start with why there's no event from my perspective this year. So I joined earlier this year after having a bit of a break. I was quite burnt out from activism for a while. So after I left Reclaim the Night Perth before, I needed some time, and now I've come back, but obviously, doesn't mean that I'm at full capacity. So things like illness, chronic illness, pain, all that kind of stuff does impact your ability to do things like running an organisation and hosting an annual event, a rally and march, because it's a lot of work. It's very time consuming and difficult stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely. I reckon that we can really strongly see the impact on the organising of, all the things that are going on in the lives of women, because the issues that Reclaim the Night wants to talk about also affect all the lives of the women organising, right? And chronic illness is actually a really substantial issue in organising Reclaim the Night. And so, there is, as you say, huge amounts of work that needs to be done to put out some small little event. As like everybody who's done any organising knows, it can be really a lot, particularly when you are trying to put forward something as culturally unsexy as serious feminist content. Like, this is just a really hard ask to try and do something that is compelling enough to make women down tools on a Friday night and come and listen to serious stuff. It's hard, and there are real challenges. And yeah, we work around resourcing and stuff, but the realities of women's lives is it's a real barrier. The patriarchy likes to keep us in line. It keeps us running to stand still, and Reclaim the Night really struggles with that, I think. The impact of COVID was also really huge, I think. We had got momentum of sorts before COVID, and when COVID hit, it was really difficult. You didn't know whether you were going to be able to hold an event. There was a lot of hesitancy about being in public together, and that kind of uncertainty is really hard to work around. And I reckon also, I've heard all sorts of organisations and businesses have stopped, and I guess it's testament to our stubbornness that we haven't. But it means we've got to find our way back to work out. Okay, now.
Peak COVID, we turned up to the park at night and sat in a big old circle and still managed to tell some random man to shove off as well in the process. So
every time,
we got out and did our bit, yeah. But it was hard.
I do remember last year's event. I went And, you know, my memory was of pre-COVID times, so I was expecting, you know, the momentum that we had built up and then showed up, and, you know, it was basically, you know, our inner circle, you know, and it was quite eye-opening that, like, yeah, like, so much stuff has been impacted by COVID and by the challenges that come with that. And yeah, it was intimate to say the least. But still good. Like, I still think there's value in holding annual events, but, you know, it just depends on the capacity to be able to do so. And
yeah. I mean, I know that a couple of years ago we did the event in a hall in Fremantle. So we've always done it in the centre of the city, and we've done, you know, we've done a variety of different parks in the city, in Northbridge, Weld Square, and Russell Square, and the Northbridge Plaza. And, you know, they've been great. And, you know, I love a good rally through the streets of Northbridge, shouting and chanting. Love it. But, you know, we had to face facts that maybe that isn't actually what people want most, although I know that some of the women who came to those events found them really mobilising and motivating, and they joined DOTS, which is so important and what we want. But we tried something different when we had it at the hall in Fremantle, and it was, you know, a great event. But again, it's like, how do you build up, how do you restart that momentum? It's really difficult, because if we're not serving up something that women want or need, we're not gonna cut through. And it's really challenging, because what we do doesn't work with the algorithms of social media. That's I think that's a bit of a challenge.
Yeah, it is. Also, I feel like anyone who's ever been involved in any kind of activism can relate to the activism burnout thing. It's never stopped us completely, because women will carry the torch one way or another. But I think especially when you're doing this kind of activism around, you know, male violence against women, and you are a woman, it's such a bummer. And I feel like the burnout is so much more profound because of it as well, but it's so crucial. So you're constantly having to fight that burnout. And also, as you said, Liz, like, we're grassroots collective, so we're women who are also affected by those things. And I think pretty much all of us have been affected by chronic illness in one way or another.
Yeah, I mean, I think the current collective has, we all do, and that's a really big thing. I mean, I also want to talk, not to be too sort of navel-gazy, but I also think that the work of looking at this stuff is also really difficult. I think the biggest example of that for me, there were two of them. One was, you know, the event where we looked at the sex trade, and, you know, that was a really difficult year to put on. That had a really huge impact on organisers and those around us and involved, and that was huge. The other moment that really strikes me was one of the events in Russell Square, 2018, I think. And, you know, because for years I read out the list of dead women, right? Because I used to count dead women. We used to read out the names of women who'd been killed by men. And that year we had 3 family annihilations, and that year one of the families was my friend. And, you know, so reading out Mara's name and her 3 babies and her mother, like, that's hard. It is really hard to look at all this stuff, because it's not abstract for us. It just isn't. It's really real.
Yeah. I think it's not only I agree, it's not only the impact of just being a woman under patriarchy dealing with male violence, but in the general, you know, knowing a woman who's experienced it or something like that. But we also experience it ourselves, whether it be like street harassment or, like, you know, domestic violence and things like that. We all understand the importance and impact of it, and I think that's why we do this. That's why we keep coming back to it. It's why we can't put it down.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's kind of why we've decided to do what we're doing this year. It's like we've realized that, you know, we can't hold an in-person event, but we want to do something. We want to acknowledge the date, and we want to kind of connect with our audience so that people can engage with us and, like, feel like this conversation is still happening.
And, you know, feminism, the insights of feminism, they are so important for women, like women's lives. There are so many things going on in women's lives that we all need to understand. It helps us to go, oh, this isn't just me. oh, this isn't happening to just me. This isn't an accident that this is happening. There is a structure that pushes this. This is the way society is pushing me. You know, these guys that I'm having problems with, they were set up for this as well, which doesn't take away their culpability. But it's really important. The insights of analysis, feminist analysis, are still so important for women. And we want to be part of the groups that are putting them out there, because I needed those. I want everyone to have the access to them. But how do we do that in a way that's not, wanky or abstract? Like, we want it to be, it's kind of got to be real. And there's, I don't think women have stopped needing feminism, but it's really hard to convey in a way that actually is useful and meaningful and not too academic, and that kind of grounds it in a way that it's going to reach people. And it's not that women are dumb. Women are busy, right? Women are smart, they're thoughtful, they understand their lives. But it's hard to step back and join the dots. I've needed people to, I've appreciated people going, oh, hey, this is a thing. Have you understood how this hangs together? And, it's useful that other women do that to ourselves, for each other. And it's important for us to be part of that chain of women's thinking.
Yeah, I think when you're struggling so much just to survive, it's really hard to even take a second to want to sit down and read an academic book on feminism. I think that's why more and more women are wanting things that are easily able to relate to and connect with and delve into, that there's no barrier because of price or level of education or culture or any of that kind of stuff. They need something to connect to. And so I think that's why we've kind of decided to do a campaign of sorts to talk about the basics of feminism.
Because with all the burnout and the kind of closeness to the subject that we have in doing this, and how we're often personally connected or personally affected and stuff like that, you can always go back to basics, right? And
Absolutely.
you can take those basic feminist ideas, and they're always going to be relevant. Women, raising women's consciousness is always going to be relevant. And I guess those of us who have that consciousness are tasked with having to make that accessible to as many women as possible. So that's how you scale it back down to the basics of doing feminism. And that's the idea behind the campaign we're doing now.
Absolutely. Giving women leaving the breadcrumb trail, right? And women will come and get what they need. Women might have full analysis and just have this tiny thing that they've kind of never thought about. And if that's the bit of information that gets to them, sweet, right? Because all of the women who read this stuff know so much, and it's just about filling in those gaps and joining the dots, and also hopefully getting insights back from people, because we're not perfect. We're all still learning. We've all come across this because other people have shared it, or people have given us books, or people have said things to us, and we're like, oh, that's how that joins up. And it's just filling in all the gaps and leaving women crumbs, so that if they come across some things that make so much sense to them, they can be like, oh, that's a great way to go. Because there's so much information on the internet. How do you sift through it? Hopefully this helps someone somewhere.
And also, instead of getting bogged down being sad that the usual type of event that we would do is not happening, we're looking at what we can do, and we might actually be able to do a lot more year round if we turn our attention to social media campaigns and things like that, and then hopefully gear up for another event in 2024 in person as well, after a year of activity online.
I mean, that would be amazing, right? Because there is something wonderful about the taking up of public space and literally shouting about women's lives to the streets. I mean, it's very, I find it very, very motivating. But
you're good at it.
I enjoy it. It's fucking brilliant. And it's interesting watching what people think as you walk past them, taking up that kind of space and saying, you know, we don't want to be subject to rape. We don't want to be subject to violence. I mean, you know, in our whatever the pithy chant is that we've got going, like it's really interesting to watch the thoughts going on in men and women's and kids' minds. But actually, probably one of the most useful things we can do is actually put together some really useful content, and women can take of it what works for them. And it's kind of exciting to be back on that. And you know, testament to the, you know, the determination of women here, that we will continue to try and find a way. But I guess one of the things that would be useful for us is to hear back from anyone watching this about, like, is there something specific that you want to see? Like, is there something that you want to know about? We can go off and be boffins and try and find out more about it. Like, it would be good to know what women need. I mean, we know what we've needed. That's going to inform what we put forward. But we're not everybody. And so, you know, hopefully we'll get more of that two-way conversation, because, yeah, COVID and sickness really killed our engagement online as well, which is kind of heartbreaking because all of that momentum took so much effort. But, you know, I also think that one of the things that we're trying to do is not get caught in the culture wars and just not get distracted by, the things that drag us here, there, and everywhere, and just come back to women's lives, not be a polarizing force, just have some solid, thoughtful insights that are so important to women everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, we know that the one of the fairly reliable ways of really getting attention online is to be controversial and bring the spicy takes, but that's not really what we're here for. Like, we're just here to put out those ideas and make them, get them to reach as many women as possible in a way that is like useful to as many women as possible, really. So that's what we're doing.
Absolutely, because there are young or old, middle-aged women out there going, this doesn't feel right. Why doesn't it feel right? Am I losing my mind? Am I mad? People tell me that I should just put up with this. And, we're here for those women. We've been those women. We are those women, right? It's not okay. What you're putting up with isn't okay. The work of women is not thought about and understood enough. It's not valued. Women are treated badly. Women are fucked over in ways that we should not be. And we've got the rage about that. And we want women everywhere to understand, because it's you can't say no to things that you don't know are wrong. And, we want to be part of helping everyone understand what they should and shouldn't be experiencing. And, that's going to hopefully help women hold men accountable.
Yeah, I think one of the really big ones for me is the "you're not crazy" part. That you're not crazy if this doesn't feel right, or if you think this is wrong, or if you can't quite fit into this mold. Like, there's a reason for it, and it's not because you're crazy or you're wrong or you're bad or something, which is one of my favorite sort of takeaways from a lot of feminist stuff as well, because of course, we have been those women and we are those women, and figuring out that I was not crazy or wrong was a big deal for me.
Look, it's an absolute deal breaker, and I think the ways in which we have been on the wrong end of the patriarchy and abuse is absolutely informing our passion for this.
Yeah, it's a great form of consciousness raising. Like, what we've experienced and the awakenings that we've had, we're sharing to the world, and hopefully we'll get some back from women who are engaging with us. And it's also invigorating, like seeing the stuff that we're coming up with and putting together. Invigorates us to keep doing this and hopefully run an event in person next year, and hopefully we'll invigorate women who are watching to engage with us, to engage with the content, and show up next year in October. Maybe
even International Women's Day in March.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, that's closer than October. It feels feels like we could do something, but it's this thing of, how do we get the drumbeat of women's lives mattering out there, because women are there to serve everybody. That is, women make households run. Women do so much invisible work. They support everybody. What about women? When do women get to come first? And women get to come first with us, like in all sorts of other feminist collectives.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, women coming first, I will say goodbye. We have been Reclaim the Night Perth 2023. And if you're interested in knowing more about what we're doing in the next year and longer, please follow us on all our social medias, which we'll have in some description box somewhere.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter,
yes.
and most excitingly, TikTok.
Yes.
Yeah, we finally did it.
Fantastic.
We've delved into TikTok, and it's actually been interesting rather than awful. So
far, I mean.
So far.
So far, we clearly haven't messed up, so that's exciting.
No one's noticed us yet.
that would
we'll get there.
It's hard to mess up before you've been identified. But yeah, it'd be lovely to see anyone who's watching this to this point. Thank you, and hope to see you online and maybe even in person at some point soon. But yeah, feel free to contact us via Facebook Messenger on the page if you've got suggestions, thoughts, etc. We're clearly just a bunch of women, and we want to hear.
Yes, definitely. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Bye.